Hi everyone. In the upcoming video, we will discuss calculations and data analysis related to solubilization of mefenamic acid experiment. First, you have to construct the calibration curve. To do so, start with calculating the concentration of the stock solution. It should be equal to the amount measured from mefenamic acid divided by the final volume of the prepared stock solution times 100%. This will differ based on your section. Use milligram percent weight per volume unit. The shown numbers are not necessarily your numbers. These were selected randomly. Then you have to calculate the concentration of each standard solution. This should be equal to the concentration of the stock solution divided by the dilution factor used to prepare the solution. Dilution factor is equal to the final volume divided by the initial sample volume withdrawn from the stock solution. Now, to plot the absorbance versus the concentration of your standard solutions, select from your insert menu, Excel insert menu, scatter charts, and again plot absorbances on the y-axis versus concentrations on the x-axis. Add axis titles and chart titles. Add linear trend line, display the line equation, and R square. Y will represent the absorbance and X will represent the concentration in milligram percent weight per volume. Use this equation to calculate the corresponding concentrations to the measured absorbances in both pH solubility profile experiment and effect of ethanol experiment. Notice here that the overall dilution factor is equal to dilution factor 1 times dilution factor 2. But if no second dilution had been done, then it is equal to the first dilution factor. Now, to calculate the diluted concentration, use calibration curve equation. In our example, the concentration will be equal to the absorbance minus 0.022 the y-intercept, as it is positive in the original calibration curve equation, divided by the slope, which is 0.3442 in our example. Please consider priorities while using the Excel equations. Now, to calculate the solubility, solubility is equal to the concentrations times the overall dilution factors. Again, the solubility is equal to concentration multiplied by the overall dilution factor. Now, plot solubility using milligram percent weight per volume expression versus pH. For this purpose, select from the insert menu scatter charts with smooth lines and markers. Again, scatter charts from which you have to select scatter smooth lines and markers. This chart should be entitled as shown pH solubility profile of mefenamic acid at room temperature. Remember to add axis titles appropriately. Now, please do the same for absorbances collected from effect of co-solvent ethanol on mefenamic acid solubility at room temperature and pH 7.4. First, calculate the overall dilution factor. It is the result of the multiplication of the first and second dilution factors. Then, the concentration using the calibration curve equation. Again, it should be equal to, in our case, 2 absorbance minus the y-intercept, as it is positive in the original calibration curve equation, and divided by the slope. Remember to use your calibration curve equation. The minus or plus might be different. Consider priorities while using Excel equations. Use parentheses, brackets to do so. Now, calculate the solubility in milligram percent weight per volume. It should be equal to the concentration, diluted concentration, times the overall dilution factor. Then, solubility is the product of concentration and overall dilution factor. Remember that the concentration unit is milligram percent weight per volume because it has been calculated using a calibration curve equation in which we used or plotted concentration as milligram percent weight per volume. Now, calculate the solubility in gram percent weight per volume. This should be done via dividing the solubility in milligram percent weight per volume by 1000. Now, plot a chart or a curve to represent the effect of ethanol percent volume per volume on the solubility of mefenamic acid. This should be done via plotting the solubility in milligram percent weight per volume versus the ethanol percent volume per volume. Again, use a scatter chart from which you have to select scatter smooth lines and markers. Add axis titles and chart titles. The curve should be entitled as the effect of ethanol on mefenamic acid solubility at room temperature and pH 7.4. Now, list down the results from salt formation. Now, time to build up your portfolio pages. Remember that you can build a blank empty page, as we said in the portfolio introduction, having the layout we described previously. Again, you can save this page as a blank empty page to use it whenever needed. To the upper left of the page, add experiment number. And to the upper right of the page, write continued from page number. At the bottom of the page and on the row before the last one, write to the right, continued on page number. Below which, in the middle of the row, write page number. Here is your page ready to copy and paste results, then calculations and data analysis. Again, just copy and paste. Excel tables and charts always start with results tables row result, then calculations and data analysis. Thank you all.